Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back again with another video. Today's video is featuring this stamp set from Picket Fence Studios. It's called Where Family Gathers, and I just wanted to show you they have some other very similar stamp sets. They have a bakery and a flower shop. And so what these stamps are is it's pretty much a whole scene built into one stamp. So it fits a A2 size card pretty perfectly, and then you just stamp it down and then you get into coloring. And so sometimes I think that images like this can be a little bit overwhelming. I am using Picket Fence's, I think it's a hybrid black ink. It's safer alcohol markers because we're going to be using Copics. But anyway, so I think sometimes images like this are overwhelming because it looks like there's just like so many little itty bitty pieces. And so a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how to kind of break these images down, how to, look at the colors that we're using to make it so it's not super busy and you don't have to own or pull out 856 markers. And so we're just going to look at that. So I did stamp this twice, just to get a really good impression. I missed the middle. And so once I have my impression, literally the entirety of this video is just coloring. So if you are not here for coloring or story time, you probably this is probably not for you, and that's okay. So here where I'm starting is typically I try to start with my lightest colors, and this is so when I'm going in and coloring things with lighter colors, I don't pick up my darker color and drag it. And so I wanted to do a little bit of the woodwork white, and then I also wanted to do like it has this little, it's like side table or end table over here. I decided to do that white as well. One of the ways that you can, like in breaking down these types of scenes, that you can make sure things don't get too crazy or too busy, if that's your goal. I just want to be clear here. This would be beautiful, like colored, like a super eclectic kitchen. But I was going for something just a tiny bit more traditional. Neutrals are your friend. So embrace your neutrals. I chose to color, it's basically like a china cabinet. I chose to color that white and wood grain-ish, brown, white and brown. So what I'm doing is I'm going in all of the areas that I want to be white, and I'm just adding in my shadows. I am starting with my darkest color because I'm fairly confident in where I'm going to lay down my shadows. If you are not confident in where you're going to lay down your shadows, that's fine. Go in with your lightest color, and in this case, that would be a C1. So don't feel like you have to go in and necessarily, with that darkest color right out the gate. For years and years and years, if you've watched my channel, you know that this is true. I would always go in with my lightest color first because I wasn't confident about where I was putting down my shadows, and your lightest color is easiest to cover up. It also is really helpful if you're heavy-handed to start with your lightest color, and I am heavy-handed. So usually the color that I go in with first is the color that you're gonna see the most of. But this is after years and years of practice. I've gotten much more comfortable with my markers and how much ink I am laying down. If you're not at that stage yet, it's completely fine. Just start with that lightest color. So all of my forward items, my drawers, my cupboards, the trim at the top, that is all going to be white, as well as that little counter, like the top, well, it would technically be the top of the buffet. But all of those things are going to be white. I know that they look gray right now. I know that. It's okay because it has no other colors to compare it to. Once we start adding in those other colors, then we will start to see this really kind of brighten up and become more white as we go along. So I know it looks dark right now. Hang tight. Okay. So once I am happy with how that is looking, I'm just going to look for any other objects that I know right off the bat are going to be white. These lampshades, white. So I'm just adding shadows like on one side. So on the left one, I added them to the left. On the right one, I added them to the right. Once that piece is done, I'm going to go in and put in my wall color. This is the first color that I chose. The reason, this is the truth. The reason that I chose it is because I desperately wish that I had a navy blue wall in my house. I have white woodwork in my home and I love it with a navy. And so I was like, if I have the choice to make this kitchen any old way that I want to make it, then I'm making it blue. And I don't feel bad about it. So typically when you look, if you just look at a room in your house, you would see that your baseboards and your ceiling typically are darker than the open areas of your wall. They just have more shadows. And so because this china cabinet is right up against the wall, it's also going to block some light. Up here, what you see me doing is just like going in between the boxes and jars and things like that. But that's where your shadow points are going to be on a wall, is going to be up at the ceiling and down by your baseboards. Do you have to stay true to that? No. I mean, even if you just went in with one single color and coated it, nobody's going to be like, you didn't put shadows on your wall. I just don't foresee that happening. So, but that is what I'm doing, and then I'm going to start filling it in. An easy way to kind of break these down and pick your colors is to look at what you know you will have to color a certain color. So I picked the navy knowing that there is an apple garland at the top, and the apple garland gives me a red option, a green option, or a red and yellow option, because they're apples and they only come in certain colors. So knowing that, I decided I was going to color my apples like a corally pinkish red color that I thought would go really well with the navy. Also, I knew this tree over here in the right, they have this plant, that's going to require some green. So I got a green and red, which is a complementary color. If I use a green, if I use a blue, it's going to be like a split complement. And so that is perfectly fine. That's going to be super helpful to us, because those colors are going to look really nice together. I brought in more neutrals with my browns. I'm going to do the wood floors, the ceiling, and the inside of my little hutch here, my china cabinet, all these brown colors. So I super loved this stamp set because, and the sentiment for me, like, just makes it. I don't know how it was growing up in all of your households, but I do know in my household and in my grandmother's household, the kitchen was like the hub. The kitchen was where we spent our time as a family, where we ate dinner together as a family, where I spent countless hours helping my mother bake in the kitchen, where we listened to the radio and danced in the kitchen, where our conversations, were had sitting at the kitchen table when we had a family meeting. Like, the kitchen was by far the hub of our household. And so, like, when I was buying my own home, it was very important to me that I had a open layout to my kitchen, because I wanted to be able to have those same things. So if I was in the kitchen cooking, I would be able to see my children in the eat-in kitchen or see them in the family room. And like, this house was so many things that I wanted it to be, but one of those was that open kitchen. And it's now where my family has dinner together, and where we have conversations, and where we have family meetings, and where, I'm silly with my kids, and, we dance in the kitchen. And like, I have such a warm spot in my heart for the time that I have spent with my family, whether that's my family that I have been blessed enough to create with my husband, or if that was the family that I came from with my siblings and my parents. Like the kitchen was just where it was at, that's just where we spent our time. Um, I did my homework at my kitchen table. We didn't have TVs in other rooms or anything like that. So if I wanted to work on homework, or if I wanted to draw, or if I wanted to do art project or whatever, like it was at the kitchen, it was at the kitchen table. And I'm very, very grateful that I grew up in a family that I had that, because I know not everybody does. So this stamp totally spoke to me. Now, my mom's kitchen doesn't look anything like this yet. She's in the process of picking hardwood floors. Is anybody else mom like this? My mom's been picking hardwood floors for like the last decade. But she did. It's so funny, like how things come and go. We did have like the pink and mauve look for quite some time. And then eventually my mom was real into wallpaper, everybody's different, but it was like a sign of the times. Wallpaper was it, it was very popular. And then we went from wallpaper to paint and borders. So still some wallpaper. And then eventually she just painted her kitchen, and her kitchen actually is blue. It's a two-tone blue because it has a chair rail in the middle. So there's a lighter and a darker blue. But yeah, it's just so funny, like all of the different transitions your household go through, based on what is, I don't even want to say what is trendy, because my mom didn't change with like whatever the trends were, but every once in a while she would just get like, I'm sick of this. We got to do something different. So when was it? I was little. We had like, that was the early 80s. Like we had brown. We had a lot of brown. Like we had brown furniture. We had brown carpet. And then we went to, no, we had blue in the front room. Did y'all have a room that you weren't supposed to be in? Did y'all have that? We did. We had a room where we weren't supposed to be in. That was my mom's front room. She wanted it to be like a sitting room. That did not last with 3 kids. It was never a sitting room. And I have no desire. It's just funny how things work. I have no desire to have that, to have a room that my children can't go into. But times are different now. I don't judge my mom for that, because she didn't even stick to it. Like it ended up being the room that I hung out with where I played my video games. And then as I got older and she had more time, where she and I played video games together. So, because we always had, like, we had Ataris and Nintendos and all kinds of stuff. And we recently actually started talking about, like, trying to get together for, like, a game night to play cards or Rummy Cube. My mom's a big fan of Triominoes. She taught me how to play. I'm not very good at it, but I'm willing to play if that's what makes my mama happy. So let's go back to this. So right now we've got a room full of neutrals, but it's starting to come together. And then we're going to start bringing in more color. So I told you I chose to do the apples like a pretty corally pink. This is a little bit lighter than I traditionally go with my reds, but I wanted it to be soft. I didn't want it to be a red. So I hit those little tulips in the vase with the same red. My other tip for breaking down these scenes is don't feel like when you pick a color, like the blue, for example, that you have to color everything in the scene blue while you have those markers out. You don't. You can decide as you go. So here, I knew those apples were going to be coral. While I had them out, I got those flowers. And now I'm bringing in some blue greens. And I'm going to get, I don't know if they're like rosemary. There's some kind of herb, kind of sprigs is what they look like. I'm also going to get this tree. For the tree, I'm going to do the stippling technique. If you've watched my channel, you've seen this before. Stippling is just a series of dots, and it's going to give us a lot of texture so that it looks like there's leaves. So I'm just going to go in, do dots with my darkest color, then with my mid-tone, and you can go right over the previous color. That's going to help make new colors and help it look more organic. And then I'm going to go in with my lightest color. You'll notice that I don't completely cover this. There are still some random spots of white, which are going to act as my highlight, and I'm just going to let them be. So once I have that, now I have to make another choice. I thought about doing the, what do you even call that? Oh, what is it? Like the ladles and the spatulas and stuff like that. I thought about doing them silver, but then I realized that was going to they were going to look white. So I chose to do them gold. So now, instead of having like a split complement, I actually have what would be closer to like a double complement. No, it's not. It's not either. I got a yellow and a green and a blue and a red. What is that? A yellow, and a blue, and a green, and a red. I don't know that there's a name for that. Is it a triad? No, it's not 3 colors. Tetriadic? No. Anyway, I know that they will work nicely together because they're evenly spaced on the color wheel. So I know that they're going to look nice together. And then red is, the complementary color. So here I went with a golden yellow because my intention was to make everything go like, a true gold. So I went in, I got the vase, I got the little pot for the plant, and now I'm just picking out the items that I could see being gold in real life. So I got a pot, I got a teapot, some sort of pitcher, and then all of the, I still can't think of the word for those things. Somebody's going to tell me in the comments. I'm going to be like, why could I not think of that word? All of the like kitchen accessory utensils. Oh, wow. We got there. Utensils, the kitchen utensils. I'm going to do those gold as well. And here there's like a little basket in the top. So again, I'm going to bring back in that brown that we used for the ceiling and for the floor. Because I just want that continuity. I don't want it to be super busy. I want everything to look really nice together. But you don't have, if you look at the whole scene, it's easy to get overwhelmed. If you break it down to all of the individual items, it's not overwhelming at all. Like, it's very easy to be like, okay, I'm going to color this one picture or this one pot. And this is another thing. Like, if you are very limited on your craft time, images like this are great because you don't have to spend any time with the setup. You can just stamp it down and then color it. Images like this are ones that I'll stamp and then take downstairs. I'll color them while I watch TV with my husband, things like that. So here I'm bringing in some warm grays, and I'm still treating these like they're whites. I'm just not using the cool grays. I'm using the warm grays. I did speed this up. And the reason I chose to change that is so that they wouldn't look all exactly the same. So my pottery, my whatever they are, my dishes, and some of the jars are going to be a white with a warm gray, and my actual hutch, which now is starting to look substantially more white, right, as we're adding in more things, is going to be a cool gray. A lot of people, have asked over the years, and I do have a Copic coloring recommendation page, but the ones that I always would recommend for beginners, even if I know they're not fun, I know that, I understand they are not fun, but the grays will be so helpful to you in your shading of things, because you could always shade an entire image with a gray and then glaze over it with another color and it'll still have shading. So here I'm bringing back in that blue green. Again, we're just repeating those colors. So I'm going in, I'm getting some of the lids, I'm getting some of the jars. just to kind of, break this up, but still keep the same continuity of the design. We don't want it to be too crazy again. Or maybe you do. You do you, boo-boo. No judgment on this side. I didn't want mine to be crazy. I wanted it to be more traditional. And so we're just going in, we're hitting anything with the blue greens. And now I'm going to then bring in that navy again and the coral. So I'm just going to keep repeating those same colors, and it's going to help everything look super cohesive. And plus it means I don't have to have like the entire set of Copic markers. And you don't need them all. I don't own them all. And this is my job. And I don't own them all. So you certainly don't need them all. But you do need ones that you will use. So make sure when you're selecting your colors, you're thinking about the things that you want to color. Do you want to color people? Then you need skin tones. Do you want to color animals? Then you need neutrals. Do you want to color flowers? Then maybe some bright colors are in order. Some greens. So it just depends on what kind of cards you like for your selection. I do have quite a few, but I do not have them all. So with that said, I also like to take these images and do what I can to make them my own, because I don't want mine to look like everybody else's. And so one of the ways that you can do that is with your detail work. And we'll be coming up on that shortly, just, going in and putting in some extra details that are going to set your card apart from everybody else's. And it's not going to make it better than everybody else's. I don't think that is true. I think everybody's cards are beautiful. They're beautifully differently. But it will make it more unique to you. And that is my goal. When I make a card, I want people to look at my card and say, like, that's a Kelly card, because they can recognize my style. And so I try to stick with like those little detail things. So one of the ways that I'm going to add a detail is I'm going to put a pattern on these plates. This does not take a lot of effort. It's literally just a blue line on the cups and on the plates. And it's going to give it more personality and set it apart. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in with a white gel pen. Here you can see I'm just kind of like catching up on all the little bits that I missed. So I'm filling in just the last couple of things with this navy. Again, repeating the same colors that we already have. And then down there in the bottom, there's like a little pot with something in it. I missed that, and I gotta get that too. I'm gonna go back in just with the warm grays. But I mean, it's really come together, and a lot of that has to do with our color selection and just going through it and taking our time and looking at the items individually. So here I'm going to bring in my white gel pen. I'm going to add some highlights. Apples are shiny, so I'm going to add some highlights to the apples. I'm also going to add some little dots, just white dots, over the blue line I put on the plates and cups. This is going to give the impression that it has kind of like a floral pattern with like maybe little white flowers. I will add some highlights to the jars. They're glass or plastic. They're going to have some shine to them. And then that is all of the coloring. The sentiment for me, as I told you when we started this video, is kind of what makes the card for me personally. And it says, your kitchen feels like home. Because to me, like, that is the heart of my household, is spending time with my family, and we're almost always in the kitchen. It's where we spend time together and play games together and, have serious conversations and, eat dinner and all of those things. So I super love the sentiment. I stamped it on some navy cardstock. This is Nautical from Hero Arts, using some white pigment ink, heat set that with some white detail embossing powder, and then I just trimmed it into a label. I struggled with kind of where to put this at first because I didn't necessarily want to cover up all my drawers, but honestly, it made the most sense to keep the rest of the scene intact. So I did end up, do you see this? Do you see how cheap I am? I knew that I was going to mount it like on a card base and nobody would be able to see my little mat. So I did trim it down just so I had an 1/8 of an inch border, and now I am mounting it on some, just really a frame of navy blue cardstock. And then I will add in some shimmer. I added some shimmer to all of my gold things, as well as my little lamp shades. And then that's pretty much it. That's the whole card. So I hope this gives you guys, a good approach to kind of come alongside these more detailed scenes. I hope it's super helpful to you. Thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate you, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.